Okay, this is part one of meiosis. The one in class that I had recorded didn't take, so it might sound a little bit different, but hopefully that'll get the main points across for you. So part one is mainly an introduction to meiosis, talking about what it is and why it happens. So meiosis is the other type of cell division. So we've talked about mitosis. Mitosis happens in order to repair tissues, in order to develop an organism, in order to replace damaged tissues. It happens in asexual reproduction. It's the only type of cell division. But meiosis is a type that happens. I'm just going to grab a pen here. It's a type that happens in organisms that reproduce sexually. It's nicknamed reduction division because the main thing that happens in it is it reduces the number of chromosomes in the cell. So because it reduces the number of chromosomes, it is often nicknamed the reduction division. It reduces the number of chromosomes to half, and that'll make sense in a minute when we talk about what happens when an organism is reproducing sexually. So why does it happen? It happens in us for the purpose of making gametes, which is a term that basically means sex cells. So in us, it's to make egg and sperm. In organisms like fungi, instead of egg and sperm, they make haploid spores. So they make sexual spores that are haploid. And haploid, our gametes are also haploid. It's just a term that is referring to the number of chromosomes. So they're cells that are made that have half the number of chromosomes. In general, the reason it happens is to prevent doubling of chromosomes from generation to generation. Because if it didn't happen, and our egg and sperm cells had the same number of chromosomes as every other cell, then when they come together, we'd end up with twice the number of chromosomes in the new baby. This is a really good diagram. So if you follow the diagram, you can start with mother and father. So take us, for instance. Every cell except for our sex cells, so every cell except for egg and sperm cells, are referred to as somatic cells. And you learned about that in the booklet that you did about cloning. Or if you haven't done that booklet yet, the booklet you will do about cloning. Basically, the somatic cells have the full set of chromosomes. They have 2 copies of each because they get one from their mom and one from their dad. So in a father, all of his cells except for the egg and sperm, he's only going to produce sperm cells, except for the sperm cells that he makes, all of them are what we call 2N, which is diploid. There's 2 sets, one set from his mom and one set from his dad. So there's 46 chromosomes in human somatic cells. Some of the cells that are in his testes would undergo the process of meiosis in order to make sperm. That color's not very good to show up, so we'll just switch. Okay, so those cells undergo meiosis, and we get a haploid sperm, which has half the number of chromosomes. Meanwhile, in the woman, in her ovary, some of the cells will undergo meiosis in order to make a haploid egg cell. So it would also have half the number of chromosomes. That's why we say they're haploid. So in our egg and sperm cells, they would have 23 chromosomes. So that when they come together and undergo fertilization, in other words, there's union of their 2 nuclei and chromosomes within them, they form a zygote, the very first cell of an organism, a human, that has a full set, a diploid set of chromosomes. 2N, we say. Now for that cell to become a multicellular organism like us, it undergoes the other type of cell division, mitosis. Mitosis and differentiation, specialization of the cells that are made through mitotic divisions will develop a multicellular organism. And then the process happens again. So the overall result is we get cells that have half the number of chromosomes so that they can join to form a zygote, which divides by mitosis, forming an embryo that has the proper number of chromosomes. So there are a few definitions that you should know that we're going to be talking about a lot. We've kind of mentioned the first two. So diploid, you think di means two. Diploid, when we say a cell is diploid, it means that it has the number of chromosomes that are found in normal body cells, in other words, the somatic cells. There's a complete set, or 2n. That means there's a copy from each parent. There's a set of maternal ones and a set of paternal ones. So if we have 23 chromosomes, then we'd have two copies of, say, chromosome 5, one we got from our mom and one we got from our dad. Haploid, we said, think hap sounds like half. It has half the number of chromosomes. It's the number that's found in the reproductive cells and is designated by N. Another term that you're going to hear a lot is homologous pair. So, homo, if you remember from science with Miss Ramsey or chemistry probably, they would have talked about like a homologous mixture, which is a homogeneous mixture, versus a heterogeneous mixture. So homo means same. Hetero means opposite. Same as homosexual, the person likes this person of the same gender, and heterosexual means they like the person of the opposite gender. So homo means same, so homologous. Log is referring to the term locus. And let's look at this little picture. We need different tool. We'll make it come a little bigger. Okay, I think you can see it now. So a homologous pair is basically two chromosomes that have the same ordering of genes. So they have the same loci or same location of a gene for the same trait. They're ordered in the same manner. And basically it's like this would be the mother or maternal chromosome right here, and this would be the paternal chromosome. But on each of those, you can see that they have the same placement of the centromere. Okay, so the centromere holds them in the same spot. They're the same length. And if you look at the ordering of the genes, they both have a gene for eye color at a certain location or locus, but they might code for a different eye color. Okay, so they have the same trait that they're coding for, but it might be for a different color. Down here, there's a gene for a certain enzyme or a certain protein that's needed in the body, and so on. So a homologous pair is, oh, I need the other tool again. I missed my smart board for this part. Oh, still did the wrong one. There we go. Okay, so a homologous pair is a pair of chromosomes that contains the same order of genes, and they look similar, but they might have different alleles or versions of some of the genes. So in other words, the sequence is slightly different, even though it codes for the same trait. The sequence is maybe slightly different, so that maybe one codes for one color of the eyes and the other codes for a different color. So this is a similar kind of diagram that I had drawn in class. And the one on the left, the blue one, we said was the father copy, and the red one was the mother copy. And you can see they're about the same length, and the centromeres are about the same spot. So here, this one's centromere, and here's this one's centromere. And the green genes code for a certain trait, and the black genes code for a certain trait. They're located in the same region or same locus on the chromosomes. Now, if you remember, the reason they look like X's right now is because they are copies. There's two sister copies that are formed getting ready for division. So when they look like X's, that's just because there's the two copies there. If you compared, say, this blue one to this one that's in the green circle, they would not be considered a homologous pair because they're different length and they have different placement of the chromosomes and they would have different genes. Okay, so when you're looking for the homologous pairs, it's basically the maternal or mother copy and the paternal or father copy of the same chromosome number, for instance. So, I wanted to have a look at these questions at the bottom. And we did go through them in class, but this thing seems to be in the way. I'm just going to move it up here. There we go. All right. So, an animal has 16 chromosomes in one of its liver cells. All right. So, if you think of the liver cell, is the liver cell a reproductive cell, or is it a somatic cell? In other words, is it a germ cell or a somatic cell? So, when you're thinking about that, think of these other questions. How many chromosomes does it have in diploid cells? Well, the liver cell is a somatic cell, and all somatic cells are diploid. So if the liver cell has 16, then all of its diploid cells must also have 16. The sex cells are the ones that need to have half the number so that when they join together to form the zygote, they'll have a normal number. So if they have half, they must each have 8. How many maternal chromosomes does it have? So that means how many came from their mom. We get half from the mom and half from the dad. So there would be 8. How many homologous pairs of chromosomes does it have? So if we divided them into homologous pairs or paired them off in mother and father copies, there should be 8 pairs for a total of 16. Good job. All right, so I guess I'll stop here for the intro, and then we'll talk about the stages of meiosis in a separate video. Give you a little break. I need the other pen. Silly.